What is that?
No, what?
So better. Huh? So much better.
Really? Well, that one's really easy, but this one's like fun. This one's like.
Stop making faces.
Yeah, true. Just don't look at the camera when you're looking.
Should we start? Huh? Should we play Shostakovich?
Huh?
Shostakovich.
No, I don't have.
I would've
I only battle weave.
Um, 7:34. 7:34.
Oh, so we should probably start playing. It's supposed to start at 7:30, so.
Yeah. I want to see. What other pieces do you have? Huh?
I only know it. Yeah, I already know it.
Wait.
Yeah, 'cause you're also supposed to start with.
Okay. Color once again. Huh? Color once again. Okay.
Should we do movement one
From the
again?
first movement?
Oh, okay, so.
Where's
Yeah, so we're done.
Yes, essentially, sorry.
Sorry, guys. Don't ask me how I page or this order. I know what happened.
Before we get started with the official meeting, the Chatham High School Chamber Orchestra Quartet, and their director is sitting up here in the audience. His name is Liam Keller. I'm going to ask him to say a few words about the students that we just heard, as well as an award that we were just notified we won that he devoted some time to, called the Best Communities for Music Education Award. So Liam, take it away.
Good evening, board. Thank you, Dr. LaSousa, Dr. Donahue, Dr. Sortino, and the board for having us tonight. My students are honored to be able to perform for all of you. Just their names quickly: Brooks Wang on violin, James Lee on violin, Ishia Rao on viola, and Lily Ditana on cello. That is our Chatham High School string quartet, and they are phenomenal. They are seniors this year, and we are going to miss them dearly. But as Dr. LaSousa said, we were notified today there's a company called NAMM, which represents music manufacturers and music makers, and every year they award different awards for the best communities in music education. And Chatham, for the second year in a row and fourth year overall, has been awarded the best community for music education, which encompasses all of our students from the very beginning all the way through their senior year, and recognizes the diversity that we show in our program, the support that we have through all facets, both band, chorus, orchestra, general music, theater as well. And we couldn't do all of that without the support of the parent boosters, the parents involved in the process, the students, the board, and the administration. So thank you again for all that you do, and we look forward to many more years of wonderful music making for you.
Thank you, Liam. And now over to Mr. DeQuilla for the start of the meeting.
Well, we'll call it to order.
Okay.
Okay. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975 announcement, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the School District of the Chatham's Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board Administrative Offices, sent to the clerks of Chatham Borough and Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, and the TAP Online News. Mr. DeQuilla?
Ms. Ross? Yes. Ms. Allen? Yes. Mr. Del Sandro? Yes. Ms. Peck? Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Ms. Weber?
Here.
Dr. Zhang? And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
6 present and accounted for. We have a quorum.
Perfect, thank you. Please join us if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is to my left.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I just want to echo the comments to the wonderful musician students that were here. They were absolutely amazing, and what a great award for us to receive. That's great. I don't have any other comments immediately at this time, so we could pop right into your report if you'd like, Dr. LaSousa. Or did you want to go to Ms. Weber first?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Ciccarelli. I do think I have a full slate here, but I think we had a recent development in the federal lawsuit that we've been contending with for the better part of 7 or 8 years now, and I think Ms. Weber can speak to that development.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for teeing that up. Is my mic on?
Yeah.
It is on?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Great. Thank you, Nick. I just want to remind everybody about this lawsuit that's been going on for about 8 years. And while Kate's not here, I suspect that Kate is unfortunately going to have to deal with this 10 years from now. So I want to make sure that we don't forget the timeline and what this was based on. So if you just bear with me for a couple of minutes. What Dr. LaSousa is referring to is a recent ruling by the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. A 3-panel judge ruled in our favor that the plaintiff's son was not coerced and converted into Islam. But just as a reminder, this has been an extremely expensive lawsuit. It's, you know, haha, we joke about it. Oh, I can't believe that's going still on. It's extremely expensive. It started in 2018. She sued the school district, claiming that the middle school tried to indoctrinate her son and convert him to Islam during a one-unit a 50-minute class in 7th grade. And let's be clear, I just want to make sure people know this is not a current 7th grade parent. This is a parent whose 7th grader was in 7th grade in 2017, and this kid is just about to finish college. The law still goes on. So just real quickly from a timeline, in February of 17, Libby came up and complained, and she didn't agree with the various lessons in the curriculum. Okay, Dr. LaSousa answered her. Dr. Chase answered her at the time. That was unacceptable. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after that, not giving it a minute, 2 weeks she goes on the Tucker Carlson show and makes these false inflammatory statements which caused a firestorm in Chatham. You could look it up. Threats to our building, threats to the teacher's physical safety, threats to the superintendent. We had to hire additional security guards for a long period of time. Some of the threats were so credible that we had to get law enforcement involved, not just local law enforcement, but county and state as well. That wasn't enough. Keeping going. She filed the lawsuit a year later, had a whole year to think about it, and thought, you know what, it's a good idea, let me sue the school district. Again, saying that the school violated her son's First Amendment rights, the Establishment Clause. So 2 years of litigation, 2 years of depositions, 2 years of the superintendent and all of our teachers being out of district giving deposition, 2 years of expenses. You can imagine what 2 years of litigation costs. After the 2 years of that, Judge McNulty in the district says, you know what? It's summary judgment for the school district. There's no coercion. Nobody indoctrinated anybody, and the whole class has to be taken in context. So summary judgment means Libby had such a baseless claim that it didn't even have enough merit to continue. Okay, figuring that's the end of it. Nope. Libby has to appeal the decision, and she wants it to go to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Okay, another 2 years go by, the Third Circuit gets it and says, okay, yeah, but we're going to wait and send it back to McNulty because there's another Supreme Court case. 2 more years, every time I do this, think dollar signs. 2 more years, goes back to Judge McNulty, he looks at it, okay, I looked at Bremerton versus Kennedy, has no impact, and Bremerton versus Kennedy is where Joe Kennedy, coach, was fired for praying at midfield at a football game. And the Supreme Court said, you know what? He can pray at midfield. It doesn't violate any Establishment Clause. So if Joe Kennedy can pray midfield, then our teachers can certainly teach the mandated curriculum. So 22, it comes back. 23, Judge McNulty rules again, reaffirming the original summary judgment for the district. Still not good enough. Libby appeals it again to the Third Circuit, and here we are 18 months after that. Again, remember, every time I do this, it's dollar signs. So that brings us to last week, May 15th. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals, 3 judges, it's a 3-judge panel. They agreed unanimously, again, that the school district was in the right, summary judgment, not enough to go on. Again, it was 3 justice panels. The lead justice, Harriman, we expressed no opinion about the curriculum at issue except to hold that it does not bear any hallmarks of religious establishment. For that reason, we will affirm the district court's judgment. Justice Phillips, instructional material about Islam beliefs, practices, and modes of worship do not offend the constitutional provision, and I respectfully concur. Judge McNulty, I am acutely aware that this is public and not parochial education. Religion, however, is a fact about the world, and no study of geography and cultures is complete without it. So 8 years, millions of dollars, 4 judges, and I understand that Ms. Hilsenrath is planning on appealing yet again. Now, these appeals don't cost her a dime, not one dime. There's a law firm out in Michigan, 700 miles away, that does this for free because they get publicity out of it. All we get is angst and expense. So the only one on this planet that can stop these appeals is Libby Hilsenrath. The law firm in Michigan can't continue without a plaintiff. They can't continue unless she authorizes it. So this generates a tremendous amount of legal and financial burden for the district. So I understand she's going to appeal it again, and she wants the entire Third Circuit to hear it, so there'll be 12 judges to hear the same case. It'll be 2 years from now, and again, remember when I do that, it costs money. So I just want everybody to be aware that this is a baseless, useless, senseless lawsuit that's been going on for almost 10 years. Her son's about to graduate college in a year or so. And while we can't do anything about that, we have no control over that, I do want to take the opportunity to remind folks that some of our teachers were named in that lawsuit, and it impacts their reputation. So when you go to Google some of their names, the first thing that comes up is teacher indoctrinates student into Islam. So I just need to take a moment and remind our residents how great our teachers are. When this young man was testifying during his deposition, he actually said, not only were my First Amendment rights not violated, he actually said, oh, no, I perceived the purpose of the lesson was to educate students about the world religion and the importance of avoiding group generalizations. So now he was testifying 2 years later, 2 years after his 50-minute class in the middle school, and he still remembers the lesson. And this poor kid had to sit in a conference room with all adults in his mother's attorney's law firm. He probably wanted to be anywhere else but there. But he actually remembered that it included the importance of generalizations. So not only did our teachers teach the core curriculum about geography, cultures, prominent religions in a region, but they also instructed our 7th grade students. Remember, they're 12 years old. Taught our 7th grade students about the lessons of avoiding generalizations. He recalled that lesson 2 years later. I can't get my kids to remember a dentist appointment, but that stuck with him. And this shows how strong and effective all of our teachers are, not just the 7th graders. They don't get to 7th grade without pre-K to 6. This is how much influence they have on our students. And think about it, because our kids take 7th grade geography, they're better prepared to understand what's happening in the world. They understand what's happening in Israel and Gaza. They understand the war in Ukraine. They learn to think critically for themselves, and they understand global issues. They see how making broad generalizations can lead to prejudice and maybe unfair treatment. Again, these kids are 12 years old. They also learn to form opinions of their own and to get information from multiple sources. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to continue to deal with the consequences of the baseless lawsuit, but it also gives us an opportunity to honor our dedicated educators who were negatively impacted by this lawsuit, the teachers who work tirelessly every single day, every day to create an inclusive classroom for our kids, where our students can learn, they can engage in thoughtful dialogue without fear of repercussion, they can explore new ideas and perspectives that were previously unfamiliar to them, and that's what our teachers give to our kids. So again, people move here because of the school district, and the teachers are the heart and soul of Chatham, and it's why families move to this community. So I just want to remind everybody that this board, previous boards, and I'm sure Kate's not here, but I'm sure future boards, we absolutely stand firmly behind our teachers, and we have unwavering commitment to support not just their work, their integrity, but also the importance of their role that they use in shaping our children's future. So I'm sorry that was a little long, Ms. President, but by my account, it's good guys 4, Libby 0.
Correct.
I keep score.
You
Yes,
should
you
be
can.
keeping score.
I should be keeping score of the price, is what I should be keeping score of, is how much it's costing us and continues to cost us.
I'm glad my mom didn't drag me to that.
Well, thank you, Ann.
Yes, you're
I appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you. Thank you for the update, Ms. Weber.
Again, poor Kate's going to have to deal with this probably 10 years from now.
Right, not just Kate.
Yeah, well. Monsieur,
What do you want?
Can you remind us how much it's cost us so far?
well, the district, it's millions of dollars that are going to our attorneys. Our insurance is covering most of it, but real money out the door, it's a little over $100,000. And that doesn't count like the time of all these teachers out of district.
So we're at 800 right now.
What's that?
We're at 800 a year, correct? Is that, but is the same 100, is it 100 a year? Do we max out of that?
No, because now the judges are saying, I don't want to hear any arguments, submit your briefs, and I'll get back to you in 2 years. So
That's awesome.
it's a little bit less now, but they don't even have tolerance. It's been 4 judges, and it's not even been a split decision. They all said it's baseless and summary judgment for the district.
Great.
Amazing. Who's on their payroll? The
Okay.
other side.
Thank you for the update. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Weber? No. Okay, moving on. Dr. LaSousa, back to you.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Weber. I'll transition to a current student now. And as we all know, we have been working on a change in the grade levels for each of our schools before the high school. And as part of that process, we've been looking at the needs of students at different buildings and the need at the middle school to ensure that students have access to time for recess and they can do activities at recess that they enjoy. And one of the hot ticket items right behind us on the other side of this wall is a Gaga pit that was installed a few years back at Lafayette. And it's packed all the time. I walked back there probably last week and saw kids kind of like, it's like a young whippersnapper version of dodgeball, if I could describe it. I've never played myself. But lo and behold, earlier this school year, we had a student of ours step up who was working on obtaining his Eagle Scout rank and said that he would like to construct at his own expense 2 Gaga pits. We have only one back here. He was willing to build 2 from scratch behind the middle school. And he put together the plans, the proposal, he lined up the materials, and back in March, I'd say, in April, maybe early April, right around spring break, he was hard at work. And now we have 2 gorgeous Gaga pits sitting behind the middle school that we can use next year and years beyond. And of course, he is earning his Eagle Scout rank. And he's with us tonight. His name is Will Hartzell. I wanted to recognize Will. And when he got here, I said, why don't you go up to the microphone at the podium and maybe just introduce yourself, even though I've already done a little bit of that, and talk about what one has to go through to obtain the Eagle Scout rank. And then, of course, if any of you have any questions, there's a ringer on the board who's quite familiar with Eagle Scout awards and Eagle Scout processes. Mm-hmm. So we'll take it away, and then we'll just maybe ask 1 or 2 questions about the project, okay?
All right, thank you. Hi, my name is Will Hartzell. I am now an Eagle Scout from Troop 8 here in Chatham. So my journey to become an Eagle Scout started very young, in 1st grade, I think, when I wanted to become a Cub Scout. And I did Cub Scouts all the way through up until 5th grade, when I transferred over to the Boy Scouts. And in the beginning parts of your journey through the Boy Scouts, it's a lot of just general knowledge, box checking, making sure you know how to do knots, first aid, outdoor survival skills, and it's just make sure you know these skills. They quiz you, and then they check the box. But then as you get a little older, for me, it was around my sophomore year in high school when I started getting into these higher ranks through Boy Scouts, is when you start having to earn merit badges, which are these long, sometimes they can be as short as 45 minutes up to, as I've learned with delays, can be 5 or 6 months. These merit badges, you need 21 of them. 14 are required for the Eagle rank, and then the remaining ones can be if you're choosing from a very large selection. And then on top of these merit badges, you also need to demonstrate your leadership skills by leading service projects. So these can be food drives, trail cleanup, just picking up litter around town, just anything that is giving back to your community. Then also, as you're doing this, you start to earn positions of responsibility within your troop. So I'm very fortunate. We have a very large troop, and I was able to get a lot of positions of responsibility, starting out as a leader of my individual patrol, and then working my way up to the senior patrol leader, who is the leader of the entire troop. Then to end it all off, to get the actual Eagle Scout requirement rank, you need to have an Eagle project, which is the final test of leadership to kind of show that you have, you are knowledgeable, you're able to carry something out from the start to finish, and to show that you have made good leadership skills and are able to give back to your community. And so I had the idea, or the idea came across my desk of building these 2 Gaga pits for the middle school. And I thought it sounded like a challenge, and it sounded like a good project. And I love playing Gaga ball, and so it was something I thought would be really fun to do. And so I coordinated with Dr. LaSousa, the principal of the middle school, Mr. Orsini, and then the PTO president, Mrs. Johnston, We organized a location for the Gaga pits, times where I'd be installing them, and then certain specifications, what they would be made out of, what the flooring would be. And then with the help of the carpentry class at my vocational school and a bunch of other scouts, we were able to construct these Gaga pits and put them in, and I think they look very nice. I'm very proud of them. And then finish it off, I have a board of review where a board of adults within scouting determine if I am worthy for the rank of Eagle, and I passed my board of review, so now I'm an Eagle Scout. Thank you.
Amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I think that maybe we just need to add one more thing to your project, and before Dr. LaSousa leaves the district, we might have to have a little Gaga pit game so you can teach him how to play. Can you do that? You can coach him through, right?
Of course.
All right, perfect.
Anytime.
All right, perfect. We're going to arrange that.
Sounds
Amazing.
good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nick, can you turn
And Ms. Weber has a question.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Great. Now, I have 3 Eagle Scouts, Will, from Troop 8, as you're from Troop 8, so I know you downplayed most of that. And as a senior, I just need people to understand how arduous the process is, and the fact that you're senior patrol leader. Can you just give us, what was how did you feel about being senior patrol leader? And that means Will has to monitor, organize, get 5th graders to do something, like a whole bunch of them. So just give us a little bit about what that was like.
All right, so being senior patrol leader, you're elected by the troop, and you will remain in that position for 6 months. At the time I was elected, we had about 85 scouts on roster, and I needed to organize meeting plans, plans for campouts, and I attended committee meetings where I was asked, how the function of the troop. I had to make a lot of announcements and, handle individual issues of, all of these scouts. I think the biggest challenge during my term of SPL was summer camp, which is when we had 50 to 60 scouts, and it was just 24/7 leadership for 6 days, 24/6. Yeah, that was definitely my biggest challenge, because it's just constantly people are coming up to you. You're the guy at the top in the chain of command. All right, Scouts is a boy-led institution, and my troop especially, we really emphasize that. We leave all of the planning and leadership up to the actual Scouts. The adults are there to keep us safe and make sure we don't make stupid choices. And
Extremely impressive. Now, think about it. He's running an 85-person organization for kids who can't even tie their shoes, so you can imagine how difficult it is. And when he said they're coming up to them, he means literally around the clock. He's got kids crying that want to go home, and somehow he has to talk them off the ledge, because he knows if he can get them past 2 days, they're going to be Eagle Scouts themselves. Also, Will, I don't know, you didn't mention, but only 4% of Scouts make it to that rank, guys and gals. So it's, people fall off. Hundreds of people join Scouts, but they don't get to that level. You also downplayed the board of review. Will had to sit before and present to not just local leaders, people that he knew. He also has to report to district leaders that he doesn't know, and they are not cupcakes. They are going to grill him, and sometimes people don't pass it. So the fact that he passed it is also a testament to his preparedness, his stick-to-itiveness. So it is very difficult to get. Now, I commend your parents as well for having you to stick to it, and it is very impressive. Not just your Eagle, but the fact that your SPL is extremely. Do you feel more prepared for what's ahead than had you not been in Scouts?
100%. I feel more prepared. These skills I'm going to have with me for the rest of my life, and they will help me for the rest of my life.
You will, and that's fantastic. Well, congratulations and well done. Thank you for the building the Gaga pits.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. All right, my next two items are just simple reminders that the district will be closed next Thursday and Friday because we had a mild winter and had excess days in the calendar. And then our next board meeting is on June 9th, and the very following evening on June 10th will be our annual TEDx Chatham event. That's one of the best nights of the year, so all are invited to attend that. And then the last item underneath my report is the annual report of the graduates that our high school principal, Dr. Walker, delivers on a yearly basis. So I will invite Dr. Walker to the microphone, and the board can descend into the house and listen to his report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to present here tonight. I'm proud to present the report of the graduates from last year's class of 2024. In the presentation, I'm going to show you some data on the outcomes of those graduates. Some will be large charts and visuals. Others will be tables of data. This report will be published online, and it's meant to really be a point of reference. So some of these tables with data might be something that our current students or future graduates might take a look at just to see some trends, colleges that students are applying to, and things like that. So it definitely serves as a point of reference. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank a couple people for helping me put this together, because I don't do this in isolation. One would be Caitlin Slate, our college and career counselor, plays a significant role in curating some of this data, as well as our administrative assistant in the counseling department, Janice Stetler, have helped me put this together. So our first data point is our post-CHS plans. And you can see in the class of 2024, with 93% of our students who continued on to four-year universities, 2% who continued on to two-year, and 5% who continued on to other. This is in a graduating class of just under 300 students. Amongst that graduating class, our GPA distributions, you can see we broke them up into bands, where the largest majority of our students at 47% fall between the 3.0 and 3.99. And then you can see our highest band at 4.5 and above is 11.4 of the senior class. And you can see the others. So the largest band, it's almost about a 50-50 split between a 4.0 and above and then below. On this slide, I targeted our students that fall in the, would be a lower quadrant of our GPA band, below 3.5% GPA. And you can see that's still a great deal of success within this group, with the vast majority of our students still continuing their education in a four-year university. I listed some of the schools that students in that band have matriculated to. I try to list schools that have a lot of different students, so I'm not signaling out particular students and their GPAs. But you can see that students, even in that band, graduating from Chatham High School, have some really great opportunities in front of them. In addition, I take a look at the population of seniors that graduated with an IEP, so special education students. And again, so what I think is some really astounding numbers, a high level of success among those students, with over 80% of those students continuing their education in a four-year program, just under 6%, about 5.5% in two-year programs. And I did provide a sample matriculation of some of the schools that some of those students had matriculated into. I will point out in this data set, in the other, as well as in the post-secondary placement, A percentage of the students in the other are students who continue at Chatham High School after graduation. We do have an 18 to 21-year-old program in our special ed, so those students fall into the other category, but they're continuing in their program here at the high school, and that's been a really great and very successful program here at the high school. Four-year college placement, one data point that we take a look at each year is the choice of public versus private. And you can see here that we had a little bit of an increase in public universities last year in comparison to other years, and a little bit of a drop in private. Have to believe that a significant portion of that is cost, is part of the reason why we've seen that, but it has been a slight change there. Each year, we take a look at the regions of the country that our students are deciding to matriculate in. You can see that we had a little bit of a drop on the East Coast going into 2024, but an increase in the South in particular and the Midwest. Those are two that stood out to me a little bit. So a little bit of change in terms of where our students are deciding to go. Give you a second to look at that. Okay, in terms of applications, our counseling department does an amazing job. We processed last year 2,830 applications. That resulted in over 1,400 acceptances. That equaled to about a 52.44 acceptance rate for our seniors. We averaged 10.1 applications per student, so that averaged out to about 5.27 acceptances per student in that class. We did have 125 early decision applications. Early decision is a binding agreement, so when you apply early decision, you are applying, saying to that school that if I get in, I'm absolutely going there. Financial considerations are not really a factor, although there are some opportunities to get out of that agreement. If it becomes a hardship, it really is sort of a binding agreement. So we had about a 50% acceptance rate there. And then early action is not binding, but it is an early decision process. So your applications are submitted earlier and you find out sooner. And we had about a 57% acceptance rate there. I will take note that we did see a change from the class prior. Class prior had slightly more applications at 3,058 but had a 47% acceptance rate. So with less applications going into this year, we saw an increase in our acceptance rate as well to 52.4. Okay, this is bands of number of applications per student. And so what I wanted you to take note of here is you have the bands on the left-hand side, students who applied to more than 20, all the way down to students who applied between 1 and 4. You see the number of students and percent of the class that falls into each category and the percent acceptance rate of those groups. And you can see very clearly that the students who applied to a lower, slightly less number of schools saw better outcomes. This can be attributed for a lot of reasons. They're narrowing their focus. They're applying to schools that they have deemed to be a really good fit for them. They're putting their efforts into less applications. They're really being specific on where they apply, and they end up seeing much larger. In some cases, some of the time students who are in the larger number are just applying to incredibly competitive schools. And in some cases with those schools, it is literally a lottery if you are to receive an acceptance with some of the schools that have 4, 5, 6% acceptance rates. So sometimes you will see a larger number of applications in that pool of students. This chart just shows some trends over time, just to take a look going back over a few years, starting at the bottom of the chart, looking at 2013, heading up to 2024, just take some data points, show you kind of how our average GPAs have progressed over that time, our SAT and ACT scores, how many colleges students are applying to, sort of that rate of increase, and then the acceptance rates over those years. Just some data to show some historical trends. So the most attended schools of the class of 2024, Penn State University tops that list with 11 students who are attended that school. Northeastern has seen an increase over the years. Some of the other schools like Rutgers has been on this list year after year, but we do see some new schools popping onto this list recently, and it is a list that does kind of move from year to year, but these are the schools that had the most students from Chatham High School attending in the fall. So this is a slide of the schools that received the most applications from Chatham High School. I think this is one of those examples that's a good data point for future graduates when they're looking to apply to schools. You recognize when you apply to Penn State, which receives over 100,000 applications a year in general, you're also competing against what could be 100 students from Chatham High School. And so these are the schools that received the most. Penn State tops that list with over 100 applications, and you can see the list of schools and the number of applications. I also include how many acceptances and then the students who actually chose to attend. Many times I get asked questions if you have, for example, 62 students accepted to Rutgers and only 8 enrolled. Does that look badly on Rutgers to us, us when we have all these students accepted? And no, not necessarily. The schools, put out a lot of acceptances and they expect a particular yield. I think also with colleges, the more students that apply and that they could not accept or not enroll actually helps with their rankings to make them seem more selective. So we don't really see any issue in terms of schools that receive a lot of acceptances but kids don't matriculate in. It doesn't seem to really move the needle in terms of their looking at our students moving forward. Again, some more data points for our students. This slide would be a list of schools that received 20 or more applications from our students. So these are the most popular schools that our students are applying to here at Chatham High School. And again, a point of reference for maybe our next year's senior class. The next slides are included in our school profile as well, and this would be the schools that our students matriculated to. So we have a list in alphabetical order, and the number of students who are attending is listed there. And this goes over 2 slides. So again, a point of reference that you can take a look at when, once this is posted online. But these are our schools. And I'm going to wrap up our presentation with just speaking a little bit about our programming. And this is where I really have to give an incredible amount of credit to our counseling department, and in particular, Kate Slate, who is our college career and testing coordinator. She really has been taking us to new levels in terms of the programming that we can provide. Over the years, we've always hosted college rep visits. We totaled 120 college rep visits in the past school year. That number fluctuates from year to year based on the availability of the reps and such, but that's a large number. We opt to have these visits rather than have a large college fair. It's a little more intimate. You get an opportunity to meet the admissions reps. Usually those reps are regional, and they're usually the first reads on applications as well, so there's a benefit to meeting those individuals. And we listed some of the visits that were most popular amongst our students there, so they got a larger turnout. We do these in our college career room, but we move to a larger location if we have more kids that are interested in attending. We also did a number of programming events. One thing that was new is we actually had an opportunity to do a small student panel with students who are studying in the UK. We had our alumni return day in December, which we normally have every year, where alumni come back to speak to our seniors. Happened to have some alumni who chose to come back, not necessarily to speak in front of the students, but were just coming back for the event, and they were willing to meet with students during lunch on that day in a small panel discussion to talk about attending schools in the UK. We continue to do our parent and student post-secondary planning nights, so our junior planning night, our senior planning night. Our financial aid presentation happens each year where we bring in a director of financial aid from a university to talk about college funding. And we also had a panel of college admission reps who we just asked them panel questions about trends that they're seeing from various universities. So we continue to do these events. We also had a county college lunch information session, and we had a number of push-in events with our 10th grade classes as well, and sort of planning for the future. So there's a progression that follows. 9th grade is about acclimating to high school. 10th grade is to start exploring what my future may hold, what interests me, maybe some career interest inventories, and then we get to junior and senior year where we really start working with the counselors to plan ahead. The last slide, which is some additional programming, is we also are providing opportunities for students who are considering other pathways besides college. So during the month of December, we had sort of Careers in Service and Defense Month, and we had visitors from Chatham Emergency Squad, firefighters, U.S. Navy, nuclear power, Department of Corrections. They came in for lunch and learn sessions. Students can sign up to learn about careers in those areas. We also had a second year in a row now, a huge open house for police and military. We set that up in our library. All the armed forces came in, some of the police programs came in, state police, local police, county police, corrections officers, Army, Navy, Marines, we had them all. And we had information sessions, and kids could walk around and learn about all those programs, ROTC programs as well, things like that. So that was actually pretty highly attended. We had a number of students the first year, so we did it again this year, and it really went great. We had information on gap years as well for students who are taking gap years. We did have a few of those. That category other in my presentation, there's, that equals, maybe about 12, 14 students, I believe. And, there's a number of them in there who were taking a gap year for different reasons. And we're starting during the spring to bring in trade school program presentations as well. Lastly, we continue our college assessment programming here by offering the PSAT 10 and the pre-ACT 10 as an opportunity for kids to get exposure to both assessments. And then we offer the PSAT 11, which is the National Merit Assessment. Last couple of years, we've been having an in-house SAT for grade 11, so that's taken here at the high school during the school day instead of a Saturday administration. And moving forward, we're also looking to more than likely move to an ACT school day as that assessment moves to computer-based testing as well. So that is our class of 2024, and it concludes my presentation. And as you return to the stage, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I do have a question. On the number of schools that students apply to, if a student applies ED and they have to withdraw their other applications, does that just count as one school applied to them?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause we pull the data like after the fact. So we pull it from Naviance. So they might have 10 applications out, but they get an ED, they find out in December, say, then I don't pull the data for this report until the summer after graduation.
Okay. Got it.
Correct. Yeah.
So the students that apply to 1 through 4, they might have had 8 applications, but then they pulled back.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of those students might be, athletic recruits, and sometimes there's specialty situations, right? Service academies, things like that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are schools getting back to using the ACTs and SATs more for colleges, trying to get kids back into schools that way? They're looking at them harder than they were 2-3 years ago when it sort of went test optional, or are they getting more test specific again?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was recently talking to some of the counselors about that. There are certain bands of schools that are starting to pay more attention to the test scores. Mm-hmm. Still a lot of test optional. It's still significantly significant. But there are some bands of schools, like state school systems, that are going back to requiring test scores to differentiate. Mm-hmm. I don't want to misspeak. I feel like the California system might have went that way, but I'd have to confirm with the counselors. I don't remember. I'm not that much in the weeds with them, as in my role now.
I was just wondering in general, because I know that they sort of went towards test optional right during the pandemic, and I don't know if they're coming back the other way or not. So.
Yeah, and we're noticing with our own students, we're kind of, I don't see heavy emphasis on test scores amongst our students. Like we see still like lower amount of percentage of kids taking the SAT or ACT, and we advise them still if it's test optional, send your scores if it helps you, right? And if it doesn't help you, because some students their scores don't correlate to all their other pieces of the puzzle, and others it helps. So the counselors advise on a case-by-case basis if the flexibility is there.
Dr. Walker, can you remind us what year do the students typically meet with their college counselor for the first time, and how many students does each counselor really take on to help them?
Sure. So essentially our 4-year sequence is they meet their counselor for the first time in 9th grade. So we actually have counselor student conferences that happen after the first what's considered marking period. We're not on marking periods at the high school, we're on semesters, but after what would be the first marking period. And so that's really their beginning where they start to form the relationship. And really the goal of that too is we do it then because they've been in school now for a couple months and they have some things to talk about, right? So we establish the relationship. Then 10th grade, we do a lot of programming where we're pushing into certain classes where we're talking about, like I said, career exploration, introduced to Naviance, things like that. The first real post-secondary planning meeting happens in junior year, and it happens in the spring of junior year. We start off with our parent and student presentation about the college search process, and we do that presentation in January. And then that's when we begin having conferences with the juniors to really start exploring. We ask juniors ahead of time to do some exploring in Naviance and maybe have some schools that they're thinking about on their list, just so that there's something to talk about a little more during the meeting. But the counselors really dig in with the students about that and start talking about everything that goes into trying to find what would be a good fit for you. So they meet with them, and then of course they can follow up with them at any time, and they can see Ms. Slate at any time. She's available for all students. And then the next point of contact would be senior year. And by the way, that junior conference is parent-student counselor. And then senior year coming the fall, this is about the application process, applying. And so we do a parent presentation. It happens usually like the first week of school, maybe the second. And then we start senior conferences with the counselors. And that's the counselor, parent, student. And that's really like going through the application process, Common App, or if you're using a different application, if a school has their own, and linking Naviance. And then at that time too, the counselor still works with the student to narrow a list if they're still uncertain of a list. Our counselors are incredibly knowledgeable of the college environment, and they do a really nice job, because I've observed them quite frequently, of really getting to know their students, and they always come to every meeting with a list of schools that they think are ones they should take a look at. And then different kids come in with different things. Some come in, they've done really nothing, they have no idea. Others come in, they've been working with outside college counselors, they have their own list, they tell their counselor sometimes, we don't really need your help, we're good, we got it. Some say that. They still interject and still give opinions, but they always come prepared with what I think is a really good list of options and alternatives for the kids.
Thanks, it's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Walker, when you say matriculating, you mean those are the schools the kids enrolled in?
They're attending.
They're attending. Can you talk a little bit about the schools that they got into, but maybe chose the money instead of the school? Like they were accepted to other schools that may be considered more prestigious.
Yeah.
But there was scholarship money to be had.
There's no question. They're definitely, if you looked at the list of acceptances, you're going to have much larger numbers next to those universities, right? When I talk to the counselors and some of the students who I talk to in the halls, sometimes they do make those decisions for financial reasons. And, I've worked with students over the years who've taken like a number of AP courses and done really well in those exams, and recognize that there are some universities they go to, they're going to accept the vast majority of those and have been able to get a bachelor's and a master's degree in 2 years just because of the number of AP credits that they were able to transfer. So we have scenarios like that. We have students, there are definitely some students who just apply to schools because there's a nervousness to this, so they want to have as many options out there as possible. They really have no intention of actually going to some of those schools, and they get those acceptances and they don't attend. That happens as well. And sometimes it's a matter of changing their mind on geography and things like that. But so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of decisions that go into it. Cost is, a factor for a number of students, especially with some of the prices of the schools now. So one of the things that Kate does, and we've done this for a number of years, is we try to bring in, when we do our rep visits, to bring in schools that are comparable to the ones that our students are all applying to, but maybe aren't getting as many applications. There's over 4,000 colleges, so trying to bring awareness to some other schools that are maybe a lower cost point, but still have excellent programs, or maybe just as expensive and just as competitive, but they don't have so many Chatham students applying to them. So we're also trying to build awareness with that. I mean, I did see some change this year with Midwest and West Coast increasing, because the Midwest was usually a low number for us, and the East Coast was always it. So our kids also seem to be getting braver. They're willing to go a little farther away from home than they did in the past, and I am noticing that as well.
Excellent.
We had a lot of California this year in our senior class, this year graduating.
Right, perfect. And having been around the block a few times, Dr. Walker's being a little humble. The reason that there's a shift in the not going to the Northeast is because Dr. Walker has done a complete overhaul of this program in the last 10 years. This programming didn't look anything like that 10 years ago when Mr. Heap and my kids went to school. So you've started to bring in a lot more reps of not the traditional schools, the kids, the ones that they all apply to. The schools that know us the best, you don't focus on them. You focus on the diamond in the rough, which is, so thank you to you for bringing in these peoples and the program that you've done. And it seems like the message is getting through. Focused applications, better acceptance rate. So
for sure.
Again, thank you. I know this has been a 10-year journey for you, and I think it was a brick that Dr. LaSousa put in your bag on top of your vice principal duties at the time, but this is a complete overhaul, and it's thanks to you and your staff, so thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Walker? Thank you for your presentation. As always, incredibly thorough and, really something to take a look at. And as Ms. Weber said, you really truly have overhauled it, and it's evident in the shift too. No longer are we having 42 kids go to Villanova. So yeah, no, I think it's great. And the Pope, right? And you know what? Listen, like you said, there's 4,000 colleges out there, and we have amazing students, and guess what? These colleges deserve to have our students too. So it goes both ways. So I think that I think it's clearly evident, which is great. So thank you again for that.
Thank you.
You good?
Good for me.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Business Administrator's Report.
I am sorry that I have to bring up the month of November because I definitely don't want to rush through summer, which is my favorite time of the year. But the nominating petitions have been posted to the board website and are on the county election website for the board member elections. This year, the current incumbents that are up for election for the borough, it's Mr. Del Sandro, and for the township, it's Ms. Ross and Dr. Zhang. And the petitions need to be filed with the County Board of Elections by July 28th for anyone who's interested. The construction report is very brief. We're proceeding and all the contractors are ready to hit the ground running once school is finished, and hope to complete everything before school starts again in August.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, for our student liaison report, Summer.
Okay. So just a couple things from the past few weeks. So for sports, we have our spring track team just competed in the NJAC Track and Field Championship this past weekend. Our very own junior, Sarah Nasidovic, placed first place and broke a 26-year-old Chatham High School record, in the 400 meter with a time, a time of 56:45. So very, very impressive. And then our girls lacrosse team just won the Morris County tournament final against Mendham on Saturday night. It was awesome. Our girls lacrosse is doing great this year, and our boys lacrosse actually plays Delbarton, I believe, tomorrow night. Yeah. And so we'll be the final, like that. I'm pretty sure it's the final. Yeah. So we'll be supporting them as well. So congratulations to all of our Cougar athletes. For theater, last week, May 8th and 9th at 7 p.m. here in the auditorium, they held the Laramie Project. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, I don't know. But so that was basically like a capstone course for all the theater classes at Chatham High School, free admission, and from what I heard, it was very impactful. So props to them for that. Other than that, on kind of like the senior course that we were just talking about. The 150 seniors are going on internship starting next week. So this is the final week of school for those 150 seniors. This is an 80-hour internship with local businesses and companies in Chatham, Madison, New Providence, and Summit. So that's pretty exciting. So it'll be the last week of school for those seniors that choose to go. AP testing. So for any students that are in advanced placement course or AP courses, many of them, if they chose to, took the AP exams last week, and up until the last one is this Friday. So this week and last week, CHS held 30 different AP exams with over 1,200 exams total, like administered. So very impressive for all the students that took them. And then for testing in general, we have the 9th and 11th graders taking the NJSLA, which is just like a statewide exam, I believe for science next Monday and Tuesday. I know 11th grade is science, not totally sure about 9th grade, but I think something along those lines. But yeah, it's just state testing. And then finally, we have our district art show next Monday and Tuesday at CMS, which is basically a K through 12 showing of a bunch of different art from our school district. So that's all I have for today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Very thorough. Yes, tomorrow night, I believe it's at 7 p.m. at Drew University. Chatham boys play Del Barton, you know, the boys that we always want to beat. So let's hope that this is our year. Knock wood. Okay. Okay, moving on to committee reports for personnel, Ms. Weber.
Great, thank you, Ann. Personnel has not met since our last meeting. We don't have one on the books, but we may need to schedule an impromptu meeting because of all the staffing and work that Beth Grant's team is doing and Emily's doing. Everybody's, working on staffing up. So while we don't have one on the books, please be aware that we may have one.
Okay, perfect. For curriculum, Ms. Ross.
Curriculum has not met either since the last meeting, but I'm checking my calendar now to see when our next one. June 4th. Thank you.
June 4th it is. Personnel too? Okay, perfect. For finance and facilities, Mr. Smith is not here. Who else is on finance?
Since the, prior to the last board meeting.
Okay. Do they have a meeting on the books?
No.
Okay, fine.
Got it. New school year.
Yes, correct. Perfect. Policy and planning, Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, policy has not met since the last meeting, and not sure when the schedule is for that.
Okay. Yes.
Next school year.
This was a tight time frame between meetings, so, between public meetings, so. Okay, perfect. Anybody with a liaison report? Yes. Ms. Weber?
Thank you.
Sure.
For Chatham Borough, I just want to make people aware that Chatham Borough Council is starting to make some presentations regarding third and fourth round of their affordable housing obligations. And they've been very, very thoughtful in having the planner come in and talk to residents and allow them to ask questions about what a payment in lieu of taxes arrangement would be versus them funding it themselves. So if you have an opportunity, educate yourself, and the council is always willing to answer questions. So just be aware that they're having a lot of public sessions. So, I don't want somebody to come 2 years from now and say, oh, nobody told us. And the reason I mention it is there's a nexus with the school district in that depending on, housing, it, will impact the school district, but they're being very, very thoughtful in how they're organizing themselves regarding the third and fourth rounds. So,
right.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Perfect.
These mandatory rounds?
Numbers are mandatory. Yes. Yeah, they can't say no thank you. Unless you're Milburn, and then you can say no thank
Oh,
you.
it sounds like they could say no thank you all they want, but I was just wondering, is any of that changing?
No.
That's hard and fast, and that's how that's going.
Unless there's litigation that changes it.
Okay.
Again, unless you're Milburn.
Well, they just say no.
They just say no.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 28th board meeting, public session, and executive session, please.
Executive session minutes, Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Del Sandro? Mr. Ryan? Ms. Weber?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda item passes 6-0.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, this is going to be our first opportunity for public commentary. Hearing of the citizens during the public commentary section of the agenda is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are or are not topics scheduled for the current meeting. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers will be asked to limit their comments to a reasonable length of time. And if you could just please sign in and just state your name and where you're from, that would be great.
Sure. Good evening, Dr. Sortino, Dr. LaSousa, and members of the school board. My name is Sharon Sandell, and I'm the mother of 2 boys in 1st and 3rd grade at Southern Boulevard. I'm following up on the email I sent last Thursday to Dr. LaSousa, Dr. Sortino, and each board member. Only Ms. Allen responded, "Thank you for taking the time to do so both Thursday and today. While I appreciated your acknowledgement of the library and Mr. DeLoya's contributions, unfortunately your email did not address the core concerns I raised. Since no one else responded, I'll assume others haven't read my message, so let me summarize why I reached out. Exactly as stated earlier, my family left Manhattan 6 years ago and chose Chatham specifically for its schools. That's why I was deeply disappointed to learn, not from the district, but from other parents, that Mr. DeLoya would not be replaced and that a shared librarian model across the 3 elementary schools would cut the structured library special time for K through 2nd students, including my rising 2nd grader, from weekly to biweekly. I wrote to express my frustration with this decision, which was made without involving parents in any discussion to explore alternatives. The American Library Association highlights the vital role of school libraries and librarians in student success. Research shows that well-staffed libraries lead to better academic outcomes, higher test scores, and improved literacy. The value of our library to early childhood development cannot be overstated. This decision sends a troubling message about our district's priorities. Reducing access to books and trained staff is short-sighted and risks harming both our children's future and the district's strong reputation. The success of our high school depends on the foundation laid in K through 8, also as stated earlier. By high school, it's too late to undo damage from cuts to critical early programming. Now is not the time to compromise the quality of Chatham's education. Ms. Allen, in your response, you wrote the following, and I quote, "With the changes of adding full-time kindergarten and moving the 3rd grade to Lafayette, we have an opportunity to shift resources to ensure that all students have ample library time. With the shift of 3rd grade to Lafayette, we have many empty library shifts in the K through 2nd school schedules. A shared K through 2nd librarian will now be able to cover multiple K through 2nd schools with all students still having access to a librarian. Additionally, homeroom teachers will have additional library shift to take students to Media Center each week. Additionally, the middle school will require more library hours as we add 5th grade to the school. This is not a budget cut, but a shifting of library resources to match up with the shift of students per school." Frankly, this was both dismissive and puzzling. First, K through 2nd student needs haven't changed. Full-time kindergarten and moving 3rd grade are unrelated and don't justify reduced library access. While middle school needs are valid, they shouldn't come at the expense of foundational K through 2nd literacy. Second, I don't dispute that students will still have access to a librarian. I take issue with the fact that their structured library time is being cut in half, and that's been completely glossed over. Lastly, it's hard to see how this isn't a budget cut. But if it's not, that's actually hopeful. It means there's still room to fix this mistake. So with that, I respectfully urge the board to reconsider. Please reinstate weekly library services and reaffirm your commitment to a well-rounded education to preserve the high standards that make Chatham schools exceptional. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Emily Smith, and once again, I'm here to advocate for the ISL program. I apologize for my attire. I had to leave dance to come here tonight. After standing up here twice and speaking, it has become clear that the main threat to this program is sexual harassment. I think this is an unfortunate problem with consequences both for the student and the school. I mentioned having background checks on employees within the facilities, but that was argued against. I agree that the process is extensive, but I don't believe athletes should be punished or put at risk because we are unwilling to help. Even if the athlete doesn't get school credit for their sports, it doesn't mean that the sexual harassment will go away for the student. Let's take the opportunity to be a force for good. Let's start by educating the students. We are not formally taught in 9th grade health about talking about sexual harassment from adults. We should have a seminar video for the students to watch to advocate for themselves, because even if you aren't responsible, it still happens. Teachers watch a video about handling sexual harassment within their classrooms, so why can't students and athletes? How are we regulating Chatham coaches to keep athletes safe? How does a student go about advocating for themselves when victimized at their school? I do recognize this isn't just a safety issue though, and I know that you are concerned about being sued or charged with something that's not on school grounds. And that is unfortunate for the school district. If that's the thing you are most worried about, contracts can be drawn up to make parents, athletes responsible, just like senior internships. You educate, parents should protect, students should advocate. We should make this happen. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Kovashevsky, and I'm from Chatham Middle School, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Art Department to formally invite the Board of Education, the administration, and our community to our annual District Art Show. Thank you, Summer, for mentioning it before. It's May 19th and 20th, 6:30 to 8:30 in the upper gym at CMS. And additionally, we have some senior hours this year on May 20th from 10 in the morning till noon. We started this event in 2017. Dr. L'Souza, I'm not sure if you remember, but you sent us all an email after that first show with feedback and compliments that are still a career highlight for all of us. You said the show was spectacular, the details magnificent. Parents, staff, and community members had massively positive feedback to share with you, and some were even brought to tears. We are so grateful to have the support of the school district to make this event possible and bring the community together to celebrate the artistic talents of our students. And speaking about bringing the community together, last year we had over 2,000 visitors each night at the art show. Our wonderful senior interns stood at the door with their counters to verify, and so we really hope that you will be there to experience that amazing energy with us. I would like to sincerely thank the administration, the Board of Education for their support of the visual arts program in the district, Chatham Education Foundation for their tremendous support through grants that's provided us with our display furniture so that we can have our wonderful shows over the years, each of our building administrators, our supervisor, Lauren Spooner, the maintenance staff, CMS custodial staff, and last but not least, our CMS PE department for generously allowing us to use their space year after year. All of their contributions work to make this event possible, and we hope to see you there 1 week from tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Lakin, and I'm here because I'm under the impression that there have been additional cuts to the music program, partly why we got to hear from the wonderful music students earlier this evening. I would just like to ask that you respectfully reconsider those reductions that you have chosen to make. The arts program, as you've heard, in many ways is shaping students in very important ways and for future success as they go on to leave Chatham High School and continue to pursue things that they are passionate about and excited about. And that started when they were in the early grades here at Chatham. not being able to have lessons, not being able to have the direct influence of the staff, the excellent staff that we do have, will impact the students and their ability to continue into the music program, band and orchestra, as they move into the higher grades. You all know that this program suffered substantially as a result of COVID, and we've seen the numbers at the high school level decrease in terms of band and participation in band, participation in marching band. I'm not sure about the orchestra numbers. I don't have kids who are in orchestra. But we now have an opportunity, due to the fabulous work that the teachers have been doing, and Ms. Gall in particular, and Ms. Spriggs in particular, in building huge numbers of students who are interested in instruments. Instrumental lessons has played a critical role in that. We have the potential to continue to impact through the high school level the students who are engaged in those ensembles and in those performance opportunities, but they need that support in the earlier years, as do the teachers. I would also like to remind you that this is not the only impact that the art students have had. This is the second meeting I've been to this year, previously advocating for a number of exceptionally articulate ninth graders who were here to speak on behalf of the Disney trip. And that, of course, also follows the reduction in a supervisor position that impacted the arts as well. So I would ask that you respectfully reconsider your decisions there so that we can continue to offer the students the music education that they need and that they will be able to take forward as they go into the higher level grades. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Deloya, and I've had the privilege of serving as a library media specialist for the past 33 years. 24 of those years have been spent right here in Chatham at SBS and Washington Avenue School. This year I will be retiring, and I have to say that it has been a pleasure and honor to really serve and work in this district with all the wonderful students and staff. But today I stand before you with a heartfelt concern for our youngest learners in the K-2 grades. Next year, due to budget cuts, or not, our district has made the decision not to replace my position as I retire. This means our K-2 students will not have the opportunity to engage with the certified library and media specialist every week. Instead, they will have library classes every other week, while the remaining specialists like art, music, ENT, etc., will be doubled upon on the weeks there are no library classes. These other specials are important to have every week, so why isn't library? Why does this matter? Well, studies have shown that students tend to earn better standardized test scores in schools that have strong library programs. Increased reading and writing scores among students can be attributed to the access of the strong library and media program with a certified school librarian. It's important to give our youngest learners weekly access to the library with a certified librarian to guide them. It's not just about checking books in and out of the library. We keep saying that students need to put down their devices, get off the technology, give it a rest. Library books and a certified librarian to guide them is the perfect way. Our K-2 students are readers, and they're developing readers. They just don't hatch into high schoolers. The librarian provides a safe space for students of all academic levels to learn the library curriculum and enjoy literature. The library has always been a vibrant heart of our K-3 schools. It's a place where curiosity is ignited, imagination takes flight. The library is more than just a collection of books on a shelf. It's a space where students learn vital skills. The students engage in our program with literature and literary elements. They embark on inquiry investigations, research projects. They learn how to be good digital citizens. They develop a love for reading that will serve them throughout their lives. Without a dedicated library class each week with a certified librarian, we risk depriving our youngest students of essential learning experiences. They will miss out on the joy of storytelling, excitement of discovering new authors, and the skills needed to navigate the information in our digital age. The school district of the Chathams has always prided itself on being a champion of libraries and reading. Lafayette, soon to be grades 3 and 4 in the middle school, 5 to 8, will both have full-time librarians. While I understand the needs to be cost savings in the budget, there must be another creative solution to have the K-2 students to have a library special each week with a certified librarian/library media specialist. Perhaps reassigning staff or another creative solution can be developed. In advocating for the K-2 students to have library each week with a certified librarian, I urge you to consider the long-term impact on their educational and personal growth. Let us ensure that the K-2 program remains a place where every child feels valued, inspired, and ready to learn, with a certified library media specialist every week. Again, as I said, I'm retiring this year. I don't need to be here tonight, but I really, truly care about the K-2 students and the importance of the library program. Chatham has been a wonderful place to work, and I'll cherish all my time here, but I really hope that you'll reconsider having library once a week for the K-2 students. Thank you so much for your time and consideration, and thank you for the opportunity to work in such a wonderful district. Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Heap, Chatham Borough. 3 quick notes. First, registration for the 48th annual Fisher-Wack race is underway. You can see various posters and flyers around town for information on how to sign up. And if you happen to be in the neighborhood of Scoop's Ice Cream Store, you can stop in and see our quilts, actually 2 quilts, that that display most of the T-shirts from the past 48 years that are hanging up in his ice cream parlor. Second, the recital tonight was great. I'm not capable of producing even 1 note on a musical instrument, but I know good musicians when I hear them, and they were terrific. And last but not least, can you remind us again of when the TED Talk is? I think this is hands down, one of the best things that the district does. I have gone for the last 3 or 4 years, and I have not been disappointed. It is great entertainment, and the price is right. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Heap. TED Talk is June 10th, 7 p.m., is that correct? Okay, June 10th. Mark your calendar. Thank you, everybody. Anybody have any comments or questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, not really a relevant question other than, Ms. Sandell, I have a little OCD about checking my email, and yours came over as, Thrill
Yes,
Share.
Thrill Share.
And then went to spam, and then the reply was no reply at aptog.com. So that may be the reason some of us didn't answer, because we didn't get it. Oh, really? We're going to have to look into that.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that, because I didn't get it either.
I didn't get it either. I didn't get it.
Huh.
That's all, and it's not in my spam.
Can we just check that, or test the portal, that it doesn't go to spam? Because that's the only way that
Right,
folks...
so mine was Thrill Share, but it ended up in my inbox, not in my spam.
Because you're special.
Mine went in spam.
I wonder how it got to
Then
yours.
same thing. Yeah, weird.
But if we could just, Peter, if you could
Maybe we
check
could
that.
talk to John A. about that.
What's that? I check my email all the time.
I guess I just wish if someone were going to quote me, they'd read the whole email rather than half the email I wrote. Because I personally know how wonderful Mr. DeLoya is and thank him very much for his service and have enjoyed every moment in my SBS library experience with my youngest. And, he's done a wonderful job for the district, and I can't express my gratitude enough for him, which was also part of my email.
Congratulations.
I understand. I did answer your questions, but go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have anything else. Could you turn on Mary's, Dr. Donohue's mic?
Okay. Thank you for your comments, and Mike, thank you so much for coming. Your passion for the library just oozes out of you, and we appreciate it so much. I did just want to touch on a couple of the points that factored into our decision-making here. This was a challenging decision, but we did try and look at things very closely from several angles. I did want to point out that within our K-2 classrooms every day, the majority of their time when they're in school is dedicated to English language arts. There's over 120 minutes that are dedicated to ELA. And because ELA filters into all of our other subjects, it is a very heavy literacy-rich learning environment. In looking at the impact of the third grades leaving the K-2 schools next year, what was happening and what we saw was that across PE, library, music, art, and D&T, those faculty members' schedules were not full because of the removal of the third grade. And what that impacted, what resulted in, is there are 24 empty class spaces at Southern Boulevard, 28 empty class spaces at Milton, and 28 at Milton, yes, and 21 at Washington. So in examining this and trying to make a decision that worked not just for the students, but also to make sure that all of our faculty members had complete schedules, that did factor into it. So in the off weeks, when the teachers are bringing down their students to library, the other specialists will be providing another special based on their availability. I would say that in regards to reducing access to books, I would not describe it as that. While they will not be with Mr. DeLoya on the off weeks or a library media specialist, they will be with their homeroom teachers who spend a great deal of time coaching the students on what their reading level is, what a just right book is. They are very dialed into what their interests are in the classroom, and they will be the ones to support their selection of books in the off weeks. So again, to kind of summarize, the decision really was fueled by trying to make sure that our staff members all have full teaching schedules, and it did not seem to be the right thing to take one of our PE teachers or a music teacher and send them into the library to offer library media instruction, that we thought it should remain specific to the specialists and left in the hands of our teachers who, as I said, do understand their interest and their reading level, that the students will have a valuable experience going down to select the books in those off weeks. And I did want to touch upon, for the music, I'm not certain where the reduction you're seeing. If it's the part-time strings person from Lafayette, I just wanted to follow up and say that third grade, because of their age, they're not having lessons next year, and that was what the catalyst was. So at Lafayette next year, third and fourth grade will have general music, third and fourth grade will have chorus, fourth grade will have theater, third grade is going to have an intro to band, and they're going to also have an intro to strings so that they can have a proper semester to get to know both, so that then they could make a proper decision after. We're still having applied music at Lafayette, and Ms. Gall has brought forth her desire to bring jazz band to the middle school to continue that. So the reduction of lessons really is triggered just by the fact that third graders aren't just quite there yet, and we're giving them the opportunity to experiment both with band instruments and string instruments.
Thank you, Dr. Donahue. Dr. Sousa?
Well, first off, I just need to tell Mr. Heap that he's right about the TED event, but the district art show will give it a run for its money. So you should swing by the middle school next Monday and check it out. I'll just note that we actually increased music staff a year ago because we hired additional staff at the middle school, knowing that this current year would be light for our staff there, but anticipating that come the fall of 2025, we would need additional staffing. So we hired more full-time music staff district-wide last year. That staff was deployed to the middle school. And then this year, like Dr. Donahue said, we're peeling back an itinerant staff member who's not a tenure track staff member, who's been supplying lessons and other assistance at Lafayette. But overall, we've had an increase there. And then I can't speak to the LMC any better than Dr. Donahue has, but I'll just say we have to remember that we're removing 25% of our students from 3 of the buildings in the district. And when you remove 25% of your students from a school building, you're left with fewer sections in that building and the need to evaluate how you are staffed. And we had many discussions about which areas of staff we could potentially reduce, and they weren't confined just to classroom teaching staff or just to specialists, but all of the positions at our current K3 buildings, which will become K2 buildings. I won't be here, but I anticipate that evaluation will continue next year when we make the full shift to K2. But there are K5 buildings nearby that don't have as much staffing in certain areas as we do at K3 buildings, and now we're moving to K2. So the idea was to try to be efficient in the staffing that we have, look where we could ensure that we continue to run our programs and provide the programs and instruction that we believe our students deserve, but do so in a way that was responsible and that was the most efficient given all of our resources. And I'm sure that that's going to continue as we move into next year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. LaSousa. And I'm sure that at the end of the year and throughout the year, there will be evaluations of how it's working out. It's not as if, anything is forever. So, okay, perfect. So I am going to close this public commentary section. There will be another opportunity after our regular agenda later in the meeting. And we're going to move on to our regular agenda. For personnel, Ms. Weber.
Yes, thank you, Ann. I'd like to move action items A1 through A25 on the regular agenda, and I would like to draw your attention to 26 through 29 on the addendum, with particular note of 26.
I'll second that. I think that Dr. Sortino may want to say something here.
I'd like to congratulate Aaron Yamamoto, who is our new principal of Chatham Middle School. He has done a phenomenal job in his role as the supervisor of mathematics for the past 3 years, and prior to that, he was a math and computer science teacher at Chatham High School. So he knows the district well, the staff well, the families well, and he's very attuned to the unique needs of middle schoolers, which is very important. He's excited for the reconfiguration, and I have the utmost confidence in him in making sure that everything runs successfully and is ready to go for an August start. So congratulations, Aaron, if you'd like to say something.
I know.
Good evening, everyone. I know it's been a long meeting, so I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I want to take an opportunity to thank the Board of Education, Dr. LaSousa, Dr. Donahue, and Dr. Sortino for this incredible opportunity. Day after Mother's Day, I certainly can't forget to thank my wife and my kids for supporting me. This is, for me, a dream that I had when I very first started teaching 15 years ago. To become a principal, and I've been fortunate enough for the past 7 years to be here with the school district of the Chathams. I'm a guy from Philadelphia, so I moved to New Jersey with very little information about this district and why it had this incredible reputation and why it was plural as well. But fast forward 7 years, and I can assure you I know why it's plural. I can't always tell you where the boundary lines are between the township and the borough, but more importantly, I've been able to figure out why this is such a special district and why the reputation precedes it. Anytime you have this conversation, for me with my colleagues beyond the district, in particular, the last 3 years as supervisor, I've gotten to work closely with our staff, and I'm really looking forward to the fact that I'll be able to leverage the dynamic talents that we have in our 5th through 8th grade staff at Chatham Middle School. So I'm really looking forward to leading us through the reconfiguration and ensuring that Chatham Middle School continues to be a school where our students can thrive, where they can explore, where they can maximize their potential, and we can ensure that they transition successfully to Dr. Walker and Chatham High School. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to getting started.
Well, we're so excited to have you. We're so excited that we have had you this long, and I think it's going to be an amazing role for you for sure. It's going to be challenging, but I think you're up for it. Yeah, so congratulations. It's going to be great, and go Birds.
Go Birds.
I couldn't resist, sorry.
You had to, you should have.
When Aaron first took over the math supervisor position, he came down the gangplank there, and I stopped him and said, "Oh, I thought he was a high school junior." I'm like, "Oh, you here to see Dr. LaSousa?" and now I say his lovely bride, you two must get proofed all the time. They are old enough to teach, they have their driver's license, and we're thrilled to have you. It's a special place because of people like you, Aaron, so thank you.
Okay. Ready for a vote?
Sure. Agenda items A1 through 25 and addendum items 26, 7, 8, and 29. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Del Sandro?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0. Congratulations, Aaron.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to, finance. Are you on finance?
I am no longer on finance.
Oh, who's on
I've been back
finance?
for
No
quite
one?
some time. That'd be Mike.
Mike Ryan, you on
Mike
finance?
Ryan,
Are you on finance?
Sure.
All right, let's go.
I'd like to move action items B1 through B12 on the regular agenda. A couple of donations to mention before we get there. Let's see, we have a Fidelity charitable donor for the Eleanor Shipler Award in the amount of $500. We also have a $6,000 donation from the Schmeltz family to fund the Eleanor Schmeltz, sorry for pronouncing that incorrectly if I did, scholarship fund. We have a $1,000 donation from the American Red Cross. And we have a box tops donation from Chatham Middle School, $44.60. And we also have an Athletic Booster Club donation, $4,000 to buy a new refrigerator for the snack shack at Cougar Field. Thank you, everyone, for those donations.
Okay.
I'll second.
We got a second from Mr. Del Sandro.
Okay, great, thank you. Agenda items B1 through B12. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Del Sandro?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Perfect.
Quick question, does the Schmeltz Foundation, does Schmeltz Fund go to several students? Because it's a lot of money, it's $6,000.
I don't recall. But I wrote about the E.J. Smeltz Scholarship in the board memo, if you read about it.
Okay.
E.J. was a Chatham High School student who I taught 2 years. Terrific kid, as good as they come. And he was accepted into the Air Force Academy. He was captain of the football team, star baseball player, most humble, salt-of-the-earth kid you could ever come across. And his first year at the, right after he came home after the first semester, went back, spent Christmas with his family, went back to the Air Force Academy. He suffered a cardiac arrest in a training drill, and there was a defect or an issue with the AED that they used on him, and he died. And he was an only child, and, you know.
Wow.
So that's the scholarship.
Got it.
So don't forget after I'm gone.
Yep. We got it. Noted. Okay. Did we vote? We did. Correct?
We did vote on
Curriculum. Moving on to curriculum.
Curriculum, yes. I'd like to move action items C1 to C3 on the regular agenda.
I'll second it.
Agenda items C1 to C3. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Del Sandro?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 6-0.
Okay, perfect. I do not have anything else for board business. Does anybody else?
Just the
Oh,
calendar.
calendar?
Oh, calendars. Are we discussing, or they're just for us?
I think it was just for you guys to digest, kind of take them home. Maybe at the next meeting, you can share your thoughts and decide which ones should be axed, or which ones should be modified, or which ones should go forward, and then we can circulate them to get some parent input.
Okay.
So so we can discuss these amongst people we know as ideas, or no?
Yeah, you can discuss them all you want. I just didn't think you'd be ready to tonight.
Right. Yeah, no.
But yeah, on June 9th, you can decide which ones we should circulate for input.
Sure.
Oh, so we may decide to modify and then
Yeah,
circulate 3 for a vote?
Anything
to
you
the
want,
school
yep.
community. Okay.
Is the significant difference between the 3 the February break?
They have a couple of different start dates.
Okay.
I'm just trying to recall.
Yeah, when there
Right,
is a
one
big
has a February break.
and when there's an early graduation, teachers are starting like early.
Okay.
2 start on the 17th, 1 starts on the 20th. One you're talking about with the April break starts on the 25th of August, as opposed to starting the 17th of August.
Okay, thanks.
They're all very similar otherwise, though, it appears to me.
Well,
I put in the Monday after Easter on a couple of them because that seemed to be popular this year.
in past years, what's caused families more angst? Not having the early, I mean, if there's a significant difference in the start date in August, but they're all before Labor Day, but then one has a February break and some don't. Have you had more feedback one way or the other, what people have liked in the past?
I think it's kind of all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, historically, we have usually voted for the calendar that gets the highest percentage of votes from the parents, right? Or at least close to it. Yeah.
I think we've gotten very positive feedback with the way we've structured the February break with just the Friday and the Monday. It's just enough that I've heard from many teachers, like, they don't want the full week because it's a little bit too close to the December break. So that, I think, is good feedback.
Right.
One question I'm looking at, I see IED, LFI, what is that? March 10th. Is that the Lunar New Year one?
No, that's Ramadan.
Ramadan. Okay, got it.
The final.
I knew we discussed that, and I was wondering if that was one of them in there somewhere, and I don't know I didn't know the acronym. Got it.
Okay, so yeah, feel free to take those home and we can discuss before the next board meeting. Policy, we have nothing, and this will be our second opportunity for public commentary if there is anybody else that would like to add anything else for the evening.
Close.
We do not have an executive session, or we do?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, perfect. Okay, that all being said, I would like to make a motion to close this meeting. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Everyone get home safely.